Hi, everyone, and just wanted to say apologies for that. I've never ever in a year had that happen before.
Wow, are we back
And
on?
do you know something? That is really freaky. So I've just called it Billy Round Two because honestly, in a whole year of doing this has never ever happened before. Anyway, what's meant to be is meant to be, and let's pick up on the flow. So everyone, just for the audience, we're on round two with Billy
Seconds
Schwer.
out. Seconds out. A technical issue. It's a bit like life. Things happen that are out of your control, right? So it's how do we show up when things are out of our control? We was touching on that point really about communication and how we communicate and how we respond and react to other people, especially, and what they say and their actions, and how it's like we got to box clever.
You have to, and you know something. It's quite interesting that with that happening and talking about the communication, it's also how you come back from the situation that you're in as well. So yeah, I could have went, oh my god, I don't know, and I actually didn't know what to do. So here we are. Mobile phones are so cool.
Absolutely. And here we go. And this is life. This is real. This is live. Ladies and gentlemen, this is live. And that's like life though, isn't it? Some things go wrong. Yeah. Mistakes happen, accidents happen, life happens. And life is always happening. And a lot of the time it's not going according to plan. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Life doesn't always go the way that you want it to.
And you know something, it's how you bounce back. So if we just talk about so I've deliberately got a brick wall as my background because sometimes and I want to talk to you about, you know, are there moments in your life, and you can pick any where you felt, oh my god, I've hit a brick wall, and just for our audience, share just how you actually overcame that.
The brick wall, I've hit the brick wall many a times. Not only in the boxing ring, in that environment, but that's a kind of game that I'm playing that I was aware of, and I prepared for that, and I trained for that, and that didn't always work out the way that I wanted it to either. But then the hitting the brick wall in life, there's been many a times I've divorce, bankruptcy, my home getting repossessed. So all of those, I've had a really tough period from my retirement. It was a real tough kind of 10, 15 years but it wasn't like I was up against the wall all the time. I was bouncing off the wall, creating myself and moving forward, then taking a few on the chin and hitting the wall again. It's like being on the ropes, hitting the wall, being your back's up against the ropes. And I was constantly trying to figure out, firstly, for my own self, who am I?
Yeah.
Because as I mentioned earlier, my identity was so wrapped up in Billy the Boxer. And it was my ego was attached to that also.
Yeah.
So from a kid of 8, competing at the highest level, it was like, oh, I'm a champion. That's who I am. And then life kind of goes the way that it does. And it wasn't easy, but I had a kind of experience of myself being in life as a champion.
Yeah.
When that was gone, it was like I had to kind of mourn. It was like there was a loss. I lost a part of myself, and I had to go through a grieving process and letting that go, which took years.
Yeah.
It took a lot of years, but then it was the work that I've been doing for the last 20 or so years is the work that I've done for myself first and foremost, because when I was in those dark places up against the wall, I could always see a light at the end of the tunnel. And it was so at that, I kept moving towards it.
Yeah.
But what I did was I got really responsible for myself and my life and where I was at. And then it was because when I was going through that first initial period of not being a boxer, It was like, yeah. So that was a challenging time, because the future that I was living into was chaotic. It was painful. It was dark, and that had me feel a certain way, and that had me be depressed, because that future was so mapped out a certain way, it was like I didn't create that. I just kind of ended up there. And it was a case of realizing, oh, I'm it then. I am fully responsible for how I feel, and the future that I'm living is my responsibility. Because of what I ended up being a victim. I had a victim mentality for a little while, because it was like it was my situations and my circumstances. I wanted to blame them because they wasn't how I wanted them to be. So I wanted to blame them and make them wrong. I make myself wrong, because I didn't like myself either. I didn't like myself. I didn't like life. I didn't like what I'd done. I didn't like where I was at. And it was all just negative downward spiral. So it was awakening, and I hit rock bottom, and that was my wake up. But then I went to work on myself. I realized I can't do it on my own. So I went and did a program called the Landmark Forum. I don't know if you're aware of it, or of the people listening are aware of it. It's a training program. It's like a weekend thing that I did. And that was all about, it's ontology, which is the study of the art and science of being. So I was sitting in a room, about 150 people for 3 days. It was an immersive experience. And the whole weekend was just having a conversation about what it is to be a human being.
Yeah.
No reading, there was no writing, because I've got ADHD, I'm dyslexic. So that kind of learning, it suited me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get on very well at school. I didn't fit in. I didn't get it. Because now that I know, what I know now is I had ADHD and I'm dyslexic. Yeah. I struggled. I spent most of my time looking out the window. So I excelled at sport. So that was my expression of myself. That's where I excelled. Yeah. And I focused on that. And so then it was a journey. And I'm still on the journey. And the journey never ends, right? And it's getting to a point where, okay, the journey, we can enjoy the journey. And it's getting to experience life and ourselves like more of an uplifted experience. Because I was like, and I get to people to look at their life. So if you're listening to this, let me ask you a question, and you can do this. Where are you on a scale of 0 to 10, right? 0 being bang, knocked out on the canvas, and 10 feeling like the champion of the world. So you'll have a number, and each and every one of us has a number. It's a made up number. It doesn't mean anything. It's made up. You'll have a number. But I was 0, 1, 2. Yeah. The work that I do is, and what I do with people, I get them to experience themselves and life as an 8, 9, 10 out of 10. And when I work with a client, and when you're a 10 out of 10, you can't deny it. It's like you can't help yourself. You're a 10 out of 10. And it's like you can't not say that you're a 10 out of 10. And it's interesting. The guys that I work with, when they tell me that, it's like, wow, that is so much joy just to experience somebody else having that experience. Yeah. I also have guys and I go, where are you today then? And they go, I'm a 9 out of 10. And it's like, no, you're not. You're a 10 out of 10. We're frightened to even declare how good it is. Because we think we might get stuck with what we got. And if we don't, and the thing about being a 10 out of 10, life is not perfect. It doesn't matter. But you can still feel good about life, about yourself, even if it's not perfect, providing you as your true self are on the road to going where you want to get to. Yeah. If you're taking the required actions on a daily basis, you're being true to yourself, and you're moving towards in all areas of life, then you can give yourself a bit of a break and have a bit of compassion for yourself. I had no compassion for myself. I used to beat myself up. I didn't like myself. And
So you went from beating people up in a ring to actually beating yourself up psychologically, mentally. Yeah. Wow.
And that was my journey. And so I would go into the ring, and that was my intention, was to do that to others. But now it's completely the opposite. So what I do, I could do completely the opposite with people. And
so tell us, go on, sorry, go on.
Go on, you carry on.
I was going to say, so tell us about the 12-round mental boxing experience. Tell us about that.
So the book, so Man Up, because as I mentioned, my experience of myself was I was a man down. And guys, if you're listening to this, you can have this book for free. We're gonna include a link where you can go and get the book or the audio book if you want to listen to it. You can have that for free. So as you've heard, my experience of myself in life was I was a man down. So that's the reason why I called it Man Up, not for any other reason.
Yeah. Because
we have to be politically correct these days, and man up maybe is not acceptable for some people. I don't wish to offend anyone. It's just my personal experience of myself about being a man down. So then I've kind of figured out what had me get to where I am now. And I've created a success model. So there's the model in the book. The book's all about, I call it the 3D. So there's a positive cycle. So if you imagine a pyramid, you got discipline, dedication. At the top of it is desire. So knowing what you want is the start of all achievement. That's the first principle of success, knowing what you want. And so I was clear that's what had me become a world champion. But then there's a negative cycle, yin and yang. In life, there's a positive, there's a negative. So what goes with the positive experience is a negative experience. And it's like an inverted triangle. You got doubt, distraction, and disappointment. And that's, I'll show you the diagram. And that's, I don't know if you can see that, make that out. But that's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see it. We can see it.
So that's what the book's all about.
Yeah, we can see that.
Positive cycle and the negative cycle. So it's just really basically looking at and considering self-doubt, distraction. What are you doing that's taking you away from what it is that you want? The self-doubt. Do you ever doubt yourself? Well, I mean, we all do, right?
Yeah.
That self-doubt.
We all do.
We all do. And we sometimes get distracted. And what I found when I was going through my tough period, my distractions that I chose weren't very good ones. So I ended up being in that disappointment bit at the bottom. So I got stuck in that negative cycle. So it's just being aware of, it's being conscious. Yeah. I was walking around life unconscious. So the crisis woke me up, and it wasn't easy. It was painful. And when you look at yourself, I looked at myself in the mirror and I didn't like myself. And so then I unraveled that, and I've been on that journey, and that's the work that I've done. And here I am today. I'm a 10 out of 10. I love myself. I can truly say that I love myself.
That's brilliant. I
love myself. I love my life, and I love the future that I'm living into. And that's for us all. It's like the future that we're living into dictates how we feel right now. So when I was depressed, I had no future to live into. That's why I was depressed.
Yeah.
And I was living into a chaotic existence. And my distraction was drug, sex, rock and roll. I did all of that stuff to escape. I couldn't be with myself. I always wanted to escape myself. And that the way I chose to escape was what had me be depressed.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's quite.
And that's the journey.
Do you know something? That's interesting, because how you've actually transitioned psychologically, and how you've actually loving yourself, and that self-care is so critical. And when in our industry, we're working very, very long hours. People don't take breaks. I know I say quite lightheartedly, grab a cuppa, but there is an underlying, because people will have been working and not even got up for air yet. So, having that self-care is really important.
It's everything. Let's pick up on that, because looking after yourself is vital for your own mental health and well-being. I meditate, I exercise, I hydrate. I've got bottles of water everywhere. I'm always drinking water. Just the basic nutrition and hydration is so vital for us all. So that's something for us all to consider and look at, because lots of us are not really aware of how to do it. But it's just eating well, resting well, recuperating, and don't overdo it. And like you say, go and sit down for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I was going to say,
just before I come on, I went and had a lie down.
Did you? Did you feel that you needed the lie down after I messaged you and said, right,
let's go? But it's like, so it's managing. So as an athlete, I spent most of my life in bed resting to go training, because my life was in the gym, eating or training. And it was like, that's my life. So I'm so aware of my self-care and retaining my energy. So when I'm now with you, I want to be able to give you all that I've got. So in between times, I can't do this 24/7. It's impossible.
Yeah, that is so true.
I'd have a sore throat. So I have to. So I'm always consciously aware of retreating, taking time out, being quiet, being on my own, just chilling to regenerate myself. It's vital.
That's absolutely some excellent advice there, Billy. I'm going to ask you now about, so coming forward now into where you are today in terms of the motivation, the speaking, how did that actually begin? How did you get from, okay, now that I've transformed, I know who I am, I know how did you come to the decision that, okay, this is what I want to do?
It wasn't a transformation in a moment. When I did the Landmark Forum, it was in 2003, so just over 20 years ago. So that was a transformational weekend. So then I transformed. But when you transform, you come into the light, and then you get pulled back into your identity, your ego. So it's a constant pulling and pushing. So it wasn't, one day I woke up, then everything was great. That process took me 10, 15 years. I was transforming myself over time. Yeah. And I have done thousands of hours. I've been in rooms with people studying. I've got diplomas. I'm a master practitioner. I've done loads and loads of work on myself. But the reason I did it all was at the beginning was for my own sanity, because for my own mental health and well-being. That was the reason I did it. But then as I started to do that, I thought, wow, this is amazing. I mean, how could I do this? Because I would like to give this away. And then I thought, I've had a unique experience of life, as we all have. Everyone listening to this is having a unique experience of their life, and they've got something to say. So your life experience is of value to somebody somewhere. And so that's what I thought. So I thought, how can I create something which is going to fulfill me and make a difference to others? And that was the journey of writing the book, and then becoming a coach, and then being a speaker, speaking to people, sharing my experience as being a boxer, then relating it to life in the real world as well. Yeah. And then that's evolved over the years as well. And today I've got these winning traits. I'm in the process of writing a new book. The new book title will be How to Be a Winner. Yeah. Which is more corporate friendly. It's more acceptable, the title. And it's about inside the mind of a champion. So I've got these winning traits which will relate to anybody. But then boxing is the metaphor. Yeah. So I'm a creator as well. I like to be creating, and I want to be making a difference, and I want to live my life on my terms, because I've never really had a proper job in my life. I've always worked for myself. I've always done that. So I don't know how to do anything else. So kind of that's where I've ended up. Yeah. And I like the creational stuff. I like to create stuff. and how I speak to the audience, I'm speaking into their hearts and their minds, because I've experienced some tough times and I've experienced incredible times. Can you imagine? I'm just a normal kid from Luton Town and I'm top of the bill in Las Vegas. So I've done that, and I'm just a normal kid. And I've experienced that. I've been top of the bill at the Royal Albert Hall, Wembley Arena. I've achieved extraordinary things. And I've also failed a lot, because I know how to win, because I know how to fail. And failing's okay. It's like fail your way to the top. That's what I reckon.
Did you know you're so right? And also the other key is if you're gonna fail fast. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, fail fast and fail forward. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, because it takes courage. It takes courage to step up, take yourself on, and be prepared to fail, because beyond the failings are the successes. But we may limit ourselves, and we may put a lid on ourselves. But I'm okay about failing, because I've and all the failings I've had in the boxing ring, and I've failed outside of the boxing ring, and it ain't been pretty. But that was never my intention. I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, and I'm living a different life. I'm creating a different path.
Yeah,
and it's exciting.
Billy, what's the best piece of advice in your years that you've ever received?
I don't know that, but I'm going to give you a bit I'm going to give you, this is the bit that I want you all to get, which relates to what I've just been talking about. One of my winning traits is it's about focusing on the future, not the past. It's about rolling with the punches, because things are not going to go according to plan. But this is the best bit of advice I can give people is keep focused on the future. Don't get stuck in the past, because that's what I did. We all look back and we dwell in the past sometimes for too long. Now, it's okay to look back into the past, take the lessons, take the learnings, the good bits from those experiences, and take them into the future. But we have to get the past that's in the future. We keep bumping up against our limitations, which are past based.
Yeah.
They're all past based. So if we can get that stuff out of the way and in the past, then the future looks different. The future will occur different if you can do that work and separate your future and your past. And that's the focus. But also we got to live in the moment as well. We got to be present to what we got. Goes without saying. We got to deal with what we got to deal with. But it's like keeping half an eye on the prize. So when I turned pro at 21, I was dealing with my next fight. I was a kid, but I had half an eye on the future, where I wanted to get to. So it's like projecting into the future, but being present. And that's going to have us feel a certain way, because I want to feel good. My main thing, if I can feel good every day, that's it. I've cracked it. That's all I want. I want to feel good.
What would you say would be, so if there's a manager, or there's someone that's got like maybe a challenging client in terms of they're very demanding, they've kind of not got a lot of worldly experience because they're kind of in their mid-20s, they're young. What would you say to them in terms of approaching that kind of personality where it's quite demanding? What would you say to them?
We get triggered, don't we? So if somebody's reacting or communicating in a certain way, and we're at the receiving end, we get triggered, which then the trigger, then we kind of go unconscious and we kind of lose ourselves, and then we may not respond to the best of our abilities. But one thing to consider would be, because we're all it's all about me, right? It's all about us. They're coming from their place, it's all about them. I'm coming from, it's all about me. Well, what about me? Then there's a clash, and then everyone's getting triggered. Then it's difficult. Yeah. If we could enter into a conversation and just be consciously aware of however they're going to show up, what are they dealing with? Because they're dealing with themselves or their deadlines, or they're under pressure. They've got stuff to do, and it's like, which is the challenge. If it's like, how can I serve them? So if I can come from a place of service, rather than have it be about me and my ego, if I can let that go, and just because that takes a bigger person.
Yeah.
To be able just to be in the moment and let go of ego and serve others, you would be so surprised of how good you feel in just being able to do that. And then ask, what can I do for you? What do you need? How can I help you right now in this moment? What do you need? And just allow them to, well, I need this, that, and provide that for them. And then see how the relationship changes, because how you look at things, if you change the way of how you look at things, the things that you look at do change.
Yeah.
So if we can, like, our perceptions of people and situations, but it's sometimes difficult because we're coming from our identity and ego. And if we get triggered, then it ain't always good. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
But if we could have it be about, so when I go and volunteer as a Samaritan, when I go into the call center, I have to leave Billy the Boxer in the car park. I have to leave him outside, and I have to tune into somebody else, because that doesn't serve the callers.
Yeah.
I make a conscious choice to do that, which I didn't know. I didn't know that before, because I was just Billy the Boxer.
Yeah.
And that's who I was. And that really worked. So here's Billy the Boxer. Billy the Boxer was aggressive. He was domineering. He was selfish. He was inconsiderate. He was always right. He was like, rah, rah, rah. And that worked. That's who I was. And that worked perfectly well in the boxing arena. But what I realized was, those traits, they didn't work for me in my life. Ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you. So Billy the Boxer showing up everywhere, it just didn't work. And then, so I failed many, many times at Billy the Boxer showing up in the wrong places. And there was a point eventually I got, that don't work, does it? My life is not working. And you know what? I'm it.
Yeah.
There's a common denominator. All the things that are not working in my life, there is a common denominator. And what is it? It's me. I'm always there. I'm always there when things are going wrong. I'm always there. What's going on? So maybe I might have something to do with it. It's like, right. And that was my wake up. And then I go, okay, right, okay. Let's look at things differently. And that wasn't easy either to do, because you have to give up a part of yourself. Because there are parts of us. There's Billy the Boxer is a part. Billy the Samaritan is a part. There's different parts of me. So then I have to consciously choose which one shows up. But I still get triggered. And I automatically get triggered. And I have to manage myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just getting better at it.
Do you know what? It's we have one life, but it's practice, isn't it? And you have a choice who you want to be and how you show up. That's what I really believe. And how clients are treated. You know, how would you want to be treated? You go to a nice restaurant, you sit down, have a meal. Yeah. And it's an expensive restaurant. You want to have a great experience, isn't it?
You want to be served. Right. You want to be served, don't you? That's it. Serving. And I think that's a great example. You go to a restaurant and you expect to be served, and you're polite with it, and it's a nice experience. So then if you look at that in your life, working with the people that you're working with, if we could come from that place as an example, I wonder how that would show up. That would be different, right? That would be a different experience. Yeah, but we have to get into the other place. Get into their world. So when we're being served in the restaurant, can we be the one serving?
Yeah.
Do we have that ability? Is that part of us? Or do we need to learn that? Or do we need to go and discover something and train ourselves in that? Because that's why I'm a Samaritan, because I didn't know how to listen. I wasn't a listener.
Yeah.
So I thought I need to go and learn how to do that. So I took myself on. I went, right, okay, where do I need to, what's the best place I can go and do that? So that's why, part of the reason why I'm a Samaritan, for my own self. For my own self, because I get value from being there for the callers as well as they do. And it's a win-win for us all. And in those experiences that you're talking about at work and stuff, it's like a win-win for both parties. And if we can create it such that it is a win-win for both parties, as it is a lot of the times, we're consciously aware that it's life, our life experience is very different, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And that's what we want, don't we? We want to experience life.
I want to speak to you around mental attitude. So I'm from a place of positive mental attitude. So even if it's insurmountable, I'm still like, come on, guys, we can do this. Let's just keep going. So tell us about positive mental attitude from your perspective and how that's really helped you elevate and serve today.
Yeah. So positive mental attitude is, it's not always easy to always be positive. And it's a challenge. So what you do is what I have the ability to do, because I'm trained that way. So as a boxer, I would go training and I would have to generate myself, as you do. You generate that positivity. And there might be times where you don't feel positive. So I've got the ability to generate myself, but what has me be able to generate myself right now in this moment is because I went and had a lie down an hour ago. So I'm balancing myself, and so this morning I'm hydrated, I'm eating well, and I'm so in preparation for me to be able to give and serve. So then I can turn it on, and it's difficult to do that 24/7. So it's just it's a conscious choice as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you've got the ability to trigger yourself off a trigger, bang, as I have, as we all have. We all have that ability. If we were consciously, we could tune in, and we all do, and something triggers. And if we need to show up in a certain way, which is not always easy to do, because a lot of the times we don't feel like it. And it all depends on who we're interacting with, or the situation or the circumstance that has us show up in a certain way. So then we're reacting to others, and it's a reaction. We're just reacting. If we're consciously choosing rather than reacting, because then we'll be in the cause of our experiences, rather than being the reaction of the experience. Because then that's power. Then we got power. Because if you're in power, then you can create and cause and be in control. Whereas if you're reactivated, you're up against the brick wall again.
Yeah.
And that's a choice. But it's also knowing that there is a choice. Because I didn't know there was a choice to be another way than Billy the Boxer. That's all I knew. So I had to wake up to something else, and that took work.
Yeah. And
it took a realization of, oh, okay, well, that doesn't work. That I learned through hard experiences.
Yeah.
All the things that wasn't working in my life, that was my lesson. That was my teacher. Which is hard. They're hard lessons.
Yeah. Who influences, who do you aspire and admire, as well as yourself? Do you know what I mean? You've got to be your number one fan. Number one. Who is there anyone?
My dad, he taught me how to box from an 8-year-old kid, and he was always in my corner through all of those fights that I mentioned. He was more or less in my corner for all of them. So, and then there's my professional boxing trainer, a guy called Jack Lindsay. They're my boxing guru people. And then I mentioned there's a guy called Werner Erhard who was the creator of the Landmark Forum.
Yeah.
So I'm an admirer of his because the work that he's done and what he's created it's had a huge impact on my life. And then there's another guy called Eckhart Tolle. Have you heard of Eckhart Tolle? He's got a book called A New Earth. A New Earth. That was transformational for me as well. And then there's another guy, a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's got he's got a great book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. What a title. What a title. So I've done a lot of his work. And then the last guy that I've been doing some work with is a guy called Dr. Gabor Mate. So he does childhood trauma. It's all about childhood trauma, addiction, that kind of therapy. It's more therapy. So I do like a therapy based coaching.
Yeah. So
I pull on all of those experts in those fields of quantum physics, therapy, ontology, all of that stuff, spirituality. So I pull all of my learnings from that, and I'll share that.
Wow, that's amazing. I was listening to Joe Dispenza this morning. He's got this really cool, it's on this neuropsychology, and it's all around the energies, all around your energies and stuff. I was listening to him this morning. It was absolutely phenomenal guy.
You get it, didn't you?
Really relate.
Yeah.
Billy, if there's any words of wisdom, you've shared so much today and it's been absolutely phenomenal. What other words of wisdom could you give to these amazing people that we serve?
Here we go, right? So here's one thing. You are the one that you've been waiting for. You are it. If you're listening to this, you are it. You are the one that you've been waiting for. Don't wait for anyone else to come and save you. The cavalry is not coming to save you. You are it. So we have to then just go, okay, get responsible for you are the power. You are the light in your life. You are the one. So then you go and create and design whatever you want for yourself or your life. And that's the bit to get. You are the creator.
That's absolutely amazing. Billy, if anyone wants to move forward and learn more about your work and your speaking, how can they get in touch with you?
So I would love for them to get hold of the book. So we're gonna put those details in. I'm on LinkedIn. They can visit me via my website. I'm seeing they can find me somehow, and I'd love to have a conversation with them.
Oh, do you know, it's just been absolutely amazing having you here today, spending quality time. How did I do?
10 out of 10.
Do you know what? I feel like a 10 right now. You've just brought I can feel your energy. I can feel your energy from all the way here. So, Billy, I am absolutely honored, and it's been a privilege to have you on this Spotlight special. I have a feeling that we'll probably talk again quite soon.
I want a rematch. We should have a rematch.
We certainly will. So everyone, this has been an amazing Spotlight special with Billy Schwer, and we hope that we've energized and invigorated your day to go out and spar with the world and just look forward, look to the future. The future is certainly bright, especially when you've got someone like Billy in your life. Take care, and thank you so much. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.